From the thong-wearing beaches of Miami, Florida, to the flannel-wearing ski bunnies of Whistler, BC, this is the Qualk Show with your host, Carol Rosher.
Good evening and welcome to the Qualk Show and happy Saturday night. On tonight's show, we are talking about breakups. We've all been there as either the breaker or the breakee. Either way, it totally sucks. It eats at you and it takes over your soul a little bit until you can find a way to heal. How long should you try to make it work for the kids' sake? Then after all the hurt is gone and the anger is gone, can you still stay friends with an ex, even if there's not children involved? I mean, when the kids are involved, you kind of have to. But is it a good idea other than that? Let's go ahead and introduce tonight's cast. We have Sin, mother to 2 teenagers. We have Hallie. She is our surrogate, as well as a mom to a 6-year-old. Next, we have Heidi. She is the mom to a almost 3-year-old and a stepmom to a grown son. We'll come back to Candace, our special guest. We have Stephanie, who is the lucky mother of a almost 4-year-old, or no, a 4-year-old, and a infant. And I myself am mom to a 5-month-old today. I can't believe that she made it this far. And on our show today, we have our special guest, Candace, of the hugely popular YouTube channel, The Barretts. Candace just shot a video discussing her recent breakup with wife and co-parent Megan. That really moved our panel, literally to tears, most of us, because we've all been there and could feel the rawness of the video that she produced. And we wanted to have her on the show to discuss it a little bit more and hopefully to help any of you at home who are struggling and alone with the same sort of life-changing, heartbreaking issue. And before we move any further, Hallie, how does everybody get a hold of us on the show tonight?
If you want to join, if you're watching live, hi, thanks for watching, and you are going to go to our Facebook page. You're going to go to The Qualk Show, our Facebook like page, and you're going to look for this picture. And you're going to comment under the picture. That is going to be our thread. If you want to get into a debate with us, we love it. I'm a master debater. Get it?
Yeah, she is.
But if you do happen to get into an actual debate with us, make sure that you're refreshing your screen because sometimes Facebook doesn't like to tell you that I've spoken back to you. So make sure that you are refreshing if you want to get feisty with us. Or if you just want to say hi,
and
we'll give you a
shout out. You're wearing your big girl kit panties because there's 5 of us and 1 of you. Anything else, Hallie?
Nope, that's the best way to start with for now.
So, how was everybody's week? Did anything crazy, unusual, fun, scary, sad happen in anyone's week this week?
We had a little.
Tried to grope your wife this week?
Dude. And it better never happen again, Target! Yeah, we had a little family emergency this week at our house, and so we have my mother-in-law and my father-in-law staying with me, and they divorced each other 30 years ago, so that's interesting.
Oh, and have
I never thought about that.
Yeah. We just have them fighting in the background throughout the show?
No. They are very respectfully giving me space for the show because they understand how important it is. So the mother-in-law, even though she's staying with us, is staying somewhere else tonight, and the father-in-law is in his hidey hole in the basement where he always stays.
Hidey hole? Don't talk about hidey hole in the live air, okay? That's not respectful. Heidi, how was your week?
Not too bad. I have started the monumental task of toilet training.
Oh.
So I've got her convinced now that she's not going to pee in diapers, but she would much rather pee in the front yard than the potty. I still don't know how to do that.
That happened today to us.
Yeah.
Tell us about it, Candace. Which one? Your little girl, obviously.
My little girl, yes, my little girl. It's my video's kind of breaking up, so I'm having a hard time hearing. But yeah, my little girl. We went today. They just made a Harvey Milk Boulevard street here in Utah, which is pretty incredible. And we were standing, we were celebrating. Tyler Glenn from Neon Trees came over and said hi to us, and pictures with him, and it was really fun. And then right there on the cement, she peed everywhere, and that was really fun.
I love it.
I love it.
She just got so excited she couldn't hold herself together.
She had a fangirl moment. That's for sure.
That's when we know we've made it, ladies. If some fan walks up to us and just urinates.
They start pissing themselves.
I made them pee.
We are somebody then.
I'm voting Oprah Winfrey. I'm gonna pee when I say hi to you.
Exactly. You're just gonna have to wear a diaper onto Oprah, Stephanie. That's.
I'm okay with that. It worked for that astronaut lady that tried to kill her ex or whatever.
Yeah.
Ellen would make me pee.
Yeah.
I would pee for Ellen. It would be worth it.
I would pee for Ellen. If there is not a merchandising idea there, I don't know what is. I would pee for Ellen.
I'd pee for Janet Jackson.
Exactly.
You'd pee for Janet Jackson. Yeah.
All right, if you're watching the show, hashtag I'd pee for. Who would you pee for?
Yes.
Yes.
I would pee for Pink. I would try not to because I think that would probably be really unattractive, but I would definitely pee for Pink.
Maybe Adele.
Adele?
Perhaps Adele.
Oh, man. That voice?
Yeah.
I was
Are we
going
all
to say,
having an Adele moment right now?
Hello from the other
I
side.
was thinking about it for a minute.
I was going to say, I don't want to alienate our male viewers, especially our gay male viewers, by talking about all of our girl crushes, but I have a feeling if I know gay males that they might pee over Adele as well. All right. Awesome. Glad everybody had a better week than last week. Let's get rolling with hot flashes. This is an unknown quote, but one that we've probably all heard before. I know that I have. If past lovers can remain friends, either they never were in love or they still are. I want to know, does this ring true for you guys? Any of you guys that believe this statement?
I feel it's so complicated for me in my situation right now because I really, I really would like to be in a healthy relationship so that for the kids more than anything, because I'm in a relationship with, kids, and it's becoming really hard. When you care that much about somebody, I think that every little thing that you say or do hurts still, and maybe it's because it's so fresh and hopefully time will heal it, but I do have exes that have really come out of the woodwork in support of me right now, and it's been really amazing and sweet, and people that I thought I would never ever speak to again have come out of the woodwork in support and just kindness, and they say, Candace, you are someone that I have never been able to forget, and I promise you that there's something about you, about your excitement for life, and you laugh at all of our jokes, and you're fun, and there's going to be something that it is impossible not to miss you. And just hearing those kind of words of affirmation has been so kind and good and healthy for me in a way. Even after all these years, you realize, oh yeah, you were important to me. But when it's fresh right now, I don't know if it is possible.
For sure. Or Heidi, go ahead.
Okay. So I think you can be friendly. I think there's nothing wrong with being friendly. I personally am not friends with any of my exes. If you read my blog a little bit earlier, you might see that I am a self-diagnosed worst breaker-upper in the whole planet. So that would have something to do with it.
Now I got to read it.
But I don't. It's a personality thing or whatever. When I'm done, I'm done. So
it's because you're a Scorpio, Heidi.
I really am a Scorpio. Yeah. So when I love and love and love until I don't, and I just don't. So
Well, Heidi, I hear you there. I've always been the breaker. I've never been a breakee, and I guess that's a pretty big privilege because I've never had that kind of pain of being dumbfounded, but I have dumbfounded a couple people, and I think I kind of feel like an asshole about it. But I wouldn't be friends with my exes because they're exes for a reason. The reason I don't stick around is usually because it's either unhealthy, abusive, or they're just insane, and I can't handle it anymore.
What if it's none of those things? I mean,
Yeah.
what if it wasn't?
Yeah.
No, I
I've got
totally
great
think that you
t-
can. I think
Go ahead,
that
Helen.
you can absolutely be. There are just some people that you just can't be in a relationship with, and that you can be awesome friends. The relationship part of life just doesn't work, and so I totally think that there are some situations where that's possible. I don't think that there's very many of those, but I do think that there are situations where you're like, you know what, we don't work, but you're really cool and I'm really cool and we should go be cool friends.
See, and
sure.
I kind of wish I had an ex like that. Most of my exes have been crash and burn horrible disasters. But I think that I see the possibility for other people. That's awesome. Good for you.
I agree completely, Sin. I totally see how it's possible for other people. For myself, maybe it's because I have a tendency to put off the breakup until it's like, geez, we really should have broken up a while ago, and now like just your face bothers me.
The way you breathe makes me want to smother
You're
you.
so kind.
Yeah.
This is what I think. I think there are, and I've said this over the course of my life, and it's actually rung completely true. I just feel in my heart there's like generally 4 stages of love. You have your first love and whatever that constitutes. Some people have 12, versions of love before they get to that first person. But that's the person that like I think gets your heart going and like teaches you that there are other things out there besides your egotistical self. And like you and some of us, like I prolonged my first love for 7 years because she's just an amazing person. And like we have no reason to be in each other's life right now, but we follow each other on Facebook, that kind of thing. And she's just a great girl. And she just wound up marrying a guy, and that was just part of her thing. And there is no love lost between us. But then you move on to like what you think at the next stage would be like the love of your life, because when you're mourning the first love, you go, oh well, that wasn't real. That was sort of a practice round for this awesome thing. So then I feel like that next step is usually the one that just destroys you, where you just learn so much about yourself. But that relationship will catch you in a moment in your life where you're not necessarily who you are, rocks you at the core, and then you move on to what I consider like self-love. And that's the third most important relationship, is where after the one that destroys you and after you've already had an assessment of true love and you kind of can figure out where you want to go, you learn to love yourself. And so when you figure that part of it out, that's the only time that the one that can come into your life, because you're ready for it. So I think I think it's 4 stages generally, but it happens for different people in different ways. And I just, when you actually find the one, after you figure out who you are as a person, it's just amazing, and because the work stops and you learn to coexist. And in my particular situation, my wife and I could not be any more different. Who would have thought that I would have been with her and she would have been with me? But it's like beautiful. It works great, and I would have never been mature enough and ready for it if I didn't go through the other types of relationships, specifically self-love. I really took time to do that for myself, and I feel completely content. So I think it just depends upon where you fall in your life, what age, what your circumstance was. And I would hate to think that anyone would hold me accountable for what I did in my 20s now. If any of those exes,
for
friends
sure.
on a different level, if there's anything left over. But, you just move forward with no pain in your heart.
I think that I'm going to save my thoughts on this until the actual segment, because I'm a bit of a collector of exes.
There you are. You carry a dead corpse.
If it wasn't for exes, I probably wouldn't have any friends. But just kidding.
I'm your friend, Carol.
Thank you.
I consider you a friend, Carol, and I'm not your ex.
So this is a bit of an old quote, but Sarah Evans said, even on my weakest days, I get a little bit stronger. I want to know, how does a person start to move on after a shocking and unexpected breakup? Are there any tips or tricks that anybody on the panel have used or can offer our viewers that would be helpful to someone that is going through this right now?
Teach me.
I think that something that Stephanie said is important. I think a big part of, a big breakup is a really traumatic experience, right? It's huge. It's life-changing. It's rocking. And I think that's a good time for getting to know yourself again, who you are outside of a relationship, what you love and things like that. I think it's important. And I think we lost Candace.
But I'm calling her back because this is her last round.
Producer extraordinaire, we'll get her back. There she is.
There she is. Welcome back.
My computer's
Think about
struggling.
this.
That's okay. I'll just keep bringing it back, Mama.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
I think the most important thing you need to do is give yourself time and a chance to mourn.
Yep.
My mom used to jokingly say, best way to get over somebody is to get under someone else. And if that's what you need to do in the moment, then go for it. But in reality, if a relationship is over, do what you need to do to get to the point to be able to accept that it's over. And that's going to need to be, give yourself time, realize there's going to be days you're going to be really bad at it, but it will get easier. Give yourself hope and optimism. Take care of yourself. This is when self-care is so important. Surround yourself by people who can see the beauty and the good that is in there, but might be harder to see in the moment. But give yourself the chance to mourn not only the loss of the person, but the loss of all the stuff you were sure was going to be there. That isn't there because of the relationship anymore.
Well, and also,
Absolutely.
any emotional reaction that you have is valid. If you're excited one moment about the prospects of the future and mourning the death of what you thought the future was going to be the next moment, that's totally okay.
Totally okay. Yeah.
And
Yep, I know.
Go ahead,
Hallie.
Oh no, I know that after my divorce, I kind of thought it was coming, but it jumped out a little bit faster at me than I thought it was coming.
Yeah.
I know that's when I took a lot of time and I started working out and I started eating better and I really focused on me.
Working out and eating better.
Yeah,
Right?
new girlfriend. The gym becomes.
I know. I was like, damn it! I have to date again. I have to buy new underwear. I have to look cute again. This is stupid. I was talking to my friends. They're like, oh my god! If I had to replace all my underwear, being single is expensive. I was like, right? You can't wear your Hanes on a new date. It doesn't work.
Yeah. And
I have a question for
picture.
Hallie. I have a question for Hallie because Candace's situation is similar to yours. We've all been there where we're all healing beautifully and everything's cool and you're starting to find your way and then all of a sudden you literally see that person and your chest burns and every beautiful thought you're having is completely destroyed by seeing that person's face. And how do you deal with that when you have children? What does that look like if you have to see them every day?
We minimized a lot of the time. I didn't have to spend a lot of time with her. There was the drop-off times, and I would drop her off, and we had because we lived in separate cities, we had a middle point that we had a neutral ground of a drop-off, so it wasn't at her house, it wasn't at my house, and I usually cried the whole drive home. Or I called one of my friends and was like, I fucking hate this bitch. How dare she? And they listened to me, and they agreed with me, and they let me go on my rants, and that's just how I had to deal with it. And now, almost 2 years later, we're friends, and she texts me and tells me that Casey had 5 goals at her soccer game, and we go to brunch, and she's in a better relationship, and she is a much happier person, and we are at a better place now 2 years later.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I've never broken up with somebody with kids. This is my first child, but I think that for me the biggest thing is surrounding yourself with friends that don't get tired of hearing you talk about the same things. Because you're going to have to talk about the same feelings and the same things and the same stories, and if you have lesser friends, they're going to get tired of it. But you'll find out real quick who your true friends are and who's really.
I'm lucky on that one. My friends have been so great, and I try to not talk about it, and they're really great.
You have to. You gotta let it out.
Process it.
I just watched your video, Candace, of your buddy and you doing Tinder. I died.
My
and
God.
You know what? It's funny because as soon as I finished watching it, I thought to myself, that's a really good friend. Because just to be able to get in front of the camera with you and just be completely ridiculous and do something as minuscule as that and let you go through those moments, that girl is one you should keep on forever because she's a good kid.
I have a lot of them like that. I mean, I'm really lucky. It's a little unfair, but I got all the friends, and that wasn't intentional. That just kind of happened with the situation. And they've been my friends for a lot longer. But anyway, I have a lot of people like that who've been really good for me. I had one girl from college. She just saw a picture of me, and she said, "You're getting too skinny." And she showed up at my house with bags of groceries and said, "Eat."
Yay!
Yeah,
I love friends. I have a friend like that.
That's a good friend.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
I have my friend who knows
phrase
that
I have never heard in my entire life. So. Do that. Mandy Hale says, one of the best times for figuring out who you are and what you really want out of life, right after a breakup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like we just said, right?
Exactly. Does any good come out of breakups? And are the choices that you make in the depths of despair the best ones?
No.
I don't think they are, no. But I think that somebody said to me once, you only regret the things you didn't do. Right?
Oh, I like that.
I think that if this moment you feel something that you need to try that's new, something that you need to do to get out of your system, go ahead. Because what's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is it was a bad experience and you don't want to do that again. The best that could happen is it's wonderful. You know, I think go ahead, go ahead and try new things. Trying new things is good.
And that includes dating people.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
I was broken up with on my birthday, sometime in my early mid-20s.
That is a real dick, whoever did that.
Yeah, totally was. But I'll tell you, I was a serial dater person back then, and I decided. Yeah. So I decided in that moment that I was going to, no matter what, I was going to remain absolutely single, not celibate. Single for 1 year.
Crazy.
I need to differentiate because we're not getting crazy here. Yeah, but single for a solid year, and it was the best thing I have ever done in my life.
Really?
The getting to know me without me in context to somebody else was
The best.
so formative. And actually, though I didn't end up coming out for another 2 years, I believe laid the solid foundation for me to be able to have the courage and the strength and to be authentic and to be able to come out.
That's
so
so
That's really great.
That's
I
great.
did the same thing. That actually, with my 2 gay guy friends, I sat at the lesbian bar, at 12 o'clock on 2006 midnight, and I said to myself, 2007 is my year. For 1 year, I'm going to be me and do whatever it is that makes me feel good, and without questioning my righteousness, of course. But it actually was it was the most exciting and self-indulging year. I got myself in a weird love triangle. I dated a butch. Like, I didn't think I'd do that. I, had a one-night stand because I was like, let me check that off the thing to do. And, like, I literally just went through and I allowed myself to not take into consideration anyone else's feelings in that moment except for mine in relation to being a good human being. And it literally changed my life. So,
it's so
how do you do that
awesome.
with kids, though?
I don't know, but I want Candace and Tally to tell me. Not that I'm ever going to have that problem, I hope, but, I want
let your
people...
ex babysit while you're having the one-night stand. It makes
I know with my divorce, it happened also at the exact time that I was delivering my surrogate twins.
Ooh.
So, like, I moved out about 2 weeks before, actually, it was a good thing because I am usually a serial dater. I like to be with people, but just having twins, and then I was also pumping. I was not going to go back out into the world with, like, new mommy body and just, I mean, my milk boobs were gorgeous, but I didn't want to be like, oh, hold on, I can only be here for 2 hours because I have to go pump before I hurt somebody.
Exactly.
So that was a mandatory 6 months for me to figure out me and for me to also work on what kind of a parent I wanted to be, what kind of a mom I wanted to be, what relationship I wanted with me and my daughter, regardless of anybody else involved, how I wanted her and I to live our lives going forward.
That's really good for me to think about. That's really good for me to think about. Thank you.
And if it's good for you to think about, then it's probably good for someone at home watching to think about. And
who are you as a parent without that partner?
Exactly.
So there's a part of me that you want. I love going to the grocery store and buying the bread that someone else likes better.
Yeah.
I really like being a wife. I love being a wife. And so being selfish and like making decisions for me, I'm not thinking of it the right way. It kind of is that time to build up me and to build my relationship with my kids. That's really sweet.
Because regardless of who comes in next, fuck them. It's you and your kids.
This is still you and your kids. Yeah.
It's you and your kids, and you get to set the tone for that relationship.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So watch what you want on TV for once. It's a good thing.
And that just kind of segues into basically our main topic. We'll just continue the conversation because we're talking about breakups on today's show. And how does a person make it through this really painful period in life? People often recluse from our friends, our family, and we search for ourselves for what we could have done differently to have made the relationship last. We ask ourselves how we could have been better, how we didn't see that they were falling out of love with us. And I think pretty much everybody has experienced some aspect of this heartache. Secondly, and most important, when kids are involved, is how do we protect our children during a breakup? How do we shield them from our own emotions as well as theirs? And is it ever a good idea to stay together for the kids' sake? Candace, I know that this is all really fresh for you, and there's viewers out there at home going through the exact same thing. Where did you start? Where are you starting from? How are things going for you at this point?
Well, shielding my kids from me being sad has been really difficult. Because I'm still, for the most part, when I get out and I get with my friends, or I can focus on taking care of them, I'll be good. But in the beginning, when I was first had some things happen that were really traumatizing to me, I had my kids with me, and I was home alone with them, and I cried. I cried like I've never cried before. I cried like a bear. I was howling, and I couldn't stop it, and I was scaring my kids, and I didn't know what to do. And my sweet daughter, we've been potty training her, and all these moms tell you how to be a mom and how to potty train, and we were originally giving her treats when she would go to the potty and do it right, and then they said, don't give her extrinsic motivation, make it intrinsic. Tell her that she makes you so happy. So then we changed it to, oh, good job, Queen, you make me so happy. So when she saw me howling like a bear like that, she thought it was because she wasn't going potty in the potty. So she tried to take me into the bathroom and said, Mama, please no cry, Mama, please no. And I'm trying to hold it together, and it made it worse, and I really want to shield my kids from it, but it's so hard because there's a part of me that thinks in order to do that, I have to cut off all emotion. I mean, my ex and I are seeing each other twice a day when we're exchanging kids twice a day. We're doing it. She's like my daycare when I go to school. And so it's, you're just cold with each other. You pass off the kids, close the door, and then you go back and I'm having a really difficult time because when you cut off your emotion and then you get your kid back, it's weird, but it takes a minute to be able to get them back emotionally too and to kind of be in the right place. So I found that that's not healthy either, And
I don't know if it's not healthy. You're just doing what you got. Like it's so raw at this point in time. You just do what you got to do to make it through.
It's normal for kids to see natural emotions. It's a natural emotion for you to be grieving and crying. I think I think when they're so young, I understand wanting to shield them from it because you can't explain it to them, But I think it's okay for them to see you sad, as long as they don't think they're responsible for your emotions. Right. So as long as you instill in them, it is not your fault I'm sad. It has nothing to do with you. I'm proud of you. I'm happy about you, and I love you. I just other big sad that I'm working on right now.
And I've definitely been trying to do that, and with my 2-year-old especially, I'm trying to teach her, but she's starting to affect her in other ways. I can tell that she's getting kind of an attachment issue. She doesn't like leaving my side anymore. She's really sensitive about, she wants to be not just close to me, but she wants to be touching me. So she used to just adventure and do her own thing, but now she kind of holds on to my leg everywhere we go because she's got this separation anxiety. Of course. She doesn't want me to not be there because I'm not there a lot now, which is hard. It's the shittiest. It's so hard.
Of course. Isn't it terrible that because of somebody else's decision that they don't want to be married anymore, you now don't get to have your kids half the time?
And I said, I am not
so angry.
I said, I am not missing Christmas with my kids because of the decision that you made. Like, Christmases are mine, birthdays are mine,
Yeah.
And luckily we came to an agreement about that because I can't imagine being without my kids on Christmas morning because of a decision that someone else made.
It's the worst day ever.
Mother's Day was hard, and we shared the day, and it seems like such a silly thing, but it was hard.
Well, it's the first holiday. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in a village inn with pies and milkshake with my kids, and it's Mother's Day, and all these people are walking past, and they're like, oh, you know, leave me a little like pity look, and okay, we're not doing this again.
Yeah. No, I can, you know, I can sympathize with that from the standpoint that anybody who hasn't been there can, which is one of the things that my partner and I talk about, and who knows if it would actually play out, because there's some things you just can't fake, but we're like, no matter what happens between us, we want to stay together for our daughter, because neither of us want to have to go through that, where we're not around our daughter 24 hours a day, witnessing everything that happens. It's almost like we've committed to our daughter more than we've committed to ourselves. You know, not really, but you know what I'm saying. So that really touches me when you talk about that kind of stuff. And Hallie, when you talk about it, I can't imagine having to go through that.
It really is my worst nightmare, and I can't stop it. And I mean, we had the deal before we had kids. I come from a broken home, and so it was like, no matter what happens, if there's cheating, if there's anything, let's go to counseling first. Let's do everything in our power. But when push comes to shove, you're not the only one that gets to make the decisions anymore.
Yeah.
You know, someone else gets to make those really difficult decisions, and you can't stop them from making decisions. And so you just, you know, you can beg and you can cry and you can stand in front of a semi-truck, but you're going to get hit, you know.
Yeah.
But it gets better, I promise. 2 years down the road.
Gosh. 2 years. Okay, 2 years.
A year of playing around, and then what happens in the second year?
You get to figure that out for yourself.
Hallie, I have a question.
Yeah.
How old was your daughter when this happened?
She was 4.
Okay. And how did that go for her?
She had a rough time, but when my ex-wife said that she wanted a divorce, I said, okay, fine, we're going to counseling to make sure that we are behaving the way that we need to, and we kind of get guidelines from a third party. And then she was also a counselor. We talked about this a couple episodes ago. So Casey also went to her, and it was a good neutral ground for us to all talk about things, and Casey saw her continuously for a couple more weeks. She did fairly good. I mean, her hardest times were the back and forth, you know, because she would spend a few days with her and then a few days with me, and those transition days were just rough. Oh, they were hard. And talking with the counselor, she said it's going to happen, and she gave me tools and she gave me resources, and I mean, she's definitely. And we've adjusted the schedule a few times. It's better.
Mine were 5
kids. Go ahead.
I would say mine were 5 and 3, and I think it's a similar age group there. And when they were seeing their other parent, they don't see their other parent anymore, sadly. But when they were seeing their other parent, you're right. The transition was really horrible at the age. That's why I was asking. I was wondering, you know, if it's different. Is it easier for an infant or for a 10-year-old? You know, I think 3, 4, and 5 is really hard.
I can tell Quinn is having a hard time, and she's 2. I mean, a newborn would never know. He's just an villain.
My brother's going to be 38. God, we're old. And he recently reconnected with our biological father. And for me, it's a dead subject, and it has been for a really long time. But Michael was 2.5 when he left. And it was the best decision my parents ever made, because my mom wound up marrying my stepdad, who he's been married to since he taught me to potty train. And like, they've been married since I was, 5, but he was in my life for a while. So he's my dad, and that's just it. And it was the best situation for me. But Michael struggled for years. And so when he finally, he's also, he deals with some personal issues. So when he finally got to get in front of him and have those conversations, we have a younger brother that let me know that Michael almost felt complete in that moment, because the little one drove my older one to meet my biological father. And I think for him, 25 to 30 years worth of his life of just stressing and wondering and having anxiety around these 2-year-old childhood memories was probably in the worst case scenario, because he didn't see him again after that. But I'd like to think that it'd be more healthier. It would have been healthier if we would have had my biological father at least somewhat in his life. Yeah. Because for me, it was better that it wasn't the case. But for Michael, I think it could have saved him many years of rejection and feeling like he wasn't worth anything. And so I think it says a lot that both Hallie and Candace, your partners, are involved regardless, of the decisions that they made to move forward. But, where it comes to with children, I was resilient because my mom stepped up. My mom was the one that gave me everything. And regardless of our situation, our relationship my whole life, you know, she was always there. And that in reality is the only thing when I got to 25 that I went, oh, you're right. So despite the issues there, she stood up for me. She fed me. She did everything she could to be right there for me. And she let that organically play itself out. And so I really appreciate that, and it actually changes how I would parent. If I'm listening so intently to you guys to see, I don't find myself in that situation, so I'm like, what would I do? How would I feel? And it would be very simple to me. I don't think I can move on in another relationship. I don't understand. If my relationship with Adrian doesn't work out, it doesn't get any better for me personally. So where would you go?
That's how I felt, though. I mean, that was exactly where I was, and I was blindsided in a way that I literally had said that very day, this is the happiest I've ever been, and I got, that. But I have to say that you touched on something that's really interesting about, I do not want to take the other mother away from my kids. My daughter loves her, she loves her father, especially they are best buddies, and when push comes to shove, it's becoming a parent. You end up sacrificing the things that you want and need for your children all the time. And truthfully, my life would be so much easier if I could just cut and walk away and not have to do the daily exchanges. I would rather pay a babysitter. I would rather be broke than have to do that. But at the same time, I love my kids. And for my kids, I know that this is an important person in their lives, and I want them to be an important person in their lives for the rest of their lives. And so that you sacrifice for your kid, just like you do with everything else.
What an amazing person you are, because that was one of the questions I was going to ask is, how do you not get to a place where you're so angry, especially when you feel that something has been done to you that you have no control over? I'm not just speaking to you, Candace, but anybody, and something is actually done to you and not a choice of yours, where you don't want to punish by not only withholding your kids, but also not wanting to share them with the other person, because that's the thing that that's the only thing you kind of have left that is something that you can hold for your own. I mean,
it comes in hating the next girl that comes along, being like, "Fuck you!"
Yeah.
Right? Just pushing all these emotions onto somebody else because you can.
It's tempting too. Don't get me wrong. When we're happy, when we're polite, when we're being polite, I'm fine. I will share the kids. I'll do whatever. But the minute that it gets unpolite, every time my first thought is, hey, do you know what? I could.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to talk myself down, and I do it privately.
Yeah. But there must be at least a tiny, tiny little bit of power in your mind that gets you through going, I could, but I'm a better, bigger person than you are.
Right. No,
yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Well, I know for me,
I wouldn't say I'm better.
She'll get there, Carol. She'll get there.
I wouldn't say I'm better. I still care about it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not there. I'm not in the angry phase yet.
You're getting there. It's like about a week away. Call
us.
When we get there, maybe we can do a new podcast about it.
It's actually funny. When you get to the anger phase, it actually makes you sexy to the lesbians. It's weird. You walk with a different swagger, and they're all of a sudden like, "Oh, what's up your ass? Let me fix your life." It's crazy.
Like
hey!
I know. I'll see you in a week.
Dark eyeliner.
Go to my doll's face.
Self-mode dressed in black, slashing tires on.
Exactly.
That's hot. Actually,
I have tried to slash a tire before. Not recently, back 10 years ago with my first ex, and
is that what Carrie
hard to
was
do.
talking about?
That is hard to do.
It is harder to do than people think. Not that I've ever tried it, but
of course not, Carol. Yeah, we googled that.
In fact, Pete actually got 15 stitches in her hand for slashing her husband's tire. Her hand right down
15.
15 stitches in her hand because she said she got the first tire because she was full of ambition, and she went to go for the second tire and her hand slipped.
Oh, that's karma. Oh.
Yeah.
That's why I love her. I've been accused of slashing a tire. This has gone on for about 15 years now. It's kind of become a joke between this one group of friends. But I have been accused of slashing a tire. But for the record, again, on live TV, I did not slash that tire. I did kick your rear light in. But I
never cared enough about anyone to slash any tires. I was like, what is it? Your loss. Who gives a shit?
Man, when I fall in love, I throw myself at it. I can't even help myself. I just do.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
I hear that.
It blinds me, you know.
Yeah. Sin, you were going to say something a little bit earlier when we were talking, when I said something, and I think you wanted to disagree with me, as per usual.
I don't even remember what you said. I'm too much into this right now.
Oh, I have a Facebook. Woo, woo, Facebook.
Yeah,
woo,
Is my wife again?
No, it's not. Your wife hasn't said
If it is,
anything.
don't say it this time. Don't say it's her wife.
We love you, Andrea. Rachel Ashton wanted to say hello from the UK. She also says, Candace, you are a massive inspiration to married people, and you were very brave to carry on putting your life on media. So thank you so much.
Oh, that's very kind. That's very kind.
I completely agree. Watching that video. And what's your YouTube channel again, Candace? Where do people watch you?
The Barretts. It's
Until you change it?
I don't think I'm going to change the name, but I'm definitely going to change the pictures, and I haven't done that yet.
It's a process.
I just barely took off my wedding ring. You know, I'm like, it's all new for me.
Did you say you did, though? You took it off?
I did.
Congratulations!
That was a really hard day.
That's a huge step.
It was a really hard day.
I wish that I could take mine off, but it's been there for a while longer now.
I should have made her do that. That's what I should have done.
I don't think it would have changed anything. She'd just have a tattoo she'd have to explain to people now.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
No, going back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier, I do agree with Hallie and Stephanie about the fact that, take that year to get to know yourself. Like Heidi, I was a serial dater as well, and I basically had the next one lined up before the last one was over. And the last one, I broke up when my ex-wife left me. I spent the year really focusing on myself, and was basically in the mindset that I will never be in a relationship again. Exactly. Like a lot of people. And that's kind of how I knew that Nicole, my partner now, was actually the one, because there was not a more complicated situation to enter into. We didn't live in the same place. We didn't all these things. I was happy. I had girls on the side. I had my rent. My job was good. I had everything that I kind of wanted to be happy for that year, and she really complicated things in the beginning for me, having to move and look at different things of that nature. And so for me, that's how I knew that I had actually found the one, because my mind was so set on never giving anyone another chance that when that person comes along and breaks that wall down, you're like, okay, this is something different, because I'm not looking for this. I'm not even wanting it. And yet, my walls are coming down for this person.
Carol, it has a way to fall in your lap, doesn't it? I mean, when I broke up with my last ex, I went a year and a half single. I saw people, but I was single on purpose for a year and a half. And then I ran into my current wife at Walmart, and I had to
Oh, no!
I did. No, listen.
You met her anyway?
No, here's the thing. I knew her, but I hadn't seen her since we were both teenagers. We used to be best friends, and she was out, and I wasn't out, and I never dared pursue her, but I was deeply in love with her, and she was my best friend, and she was out, and I was not out. I was hiding behind my Christian, so she was just my friend, and I knew that she wanted more from me, and I wanted more, and I couldn't live that. So when I was a year and a half single, and I knew who I was, and I knew who I wanted, I ran into her in Walmart. Yeah. That was it. We were married 4 months later, because we were like, that's what we're supposed to be doing. And we've been married 4 years. And we're happy.
That's awesome.
That's so cute.
That's adorable.
So maybe you will run into the one that got away, and you'll be okay.
In the organic section at the grocery store.
What if none of them got away, because I always win the girl?
There you go. Well, I guess what I mean is, maybe if you're not looking for it and you're just working on you, it kind of falls in your lap.
Right.
It really does.
That's true.
Adrian fell in my lap 5 times before I said yes. 5. And the best part about it was 2 weeks after this massive breakup in my life. And I was just like sitting in a bar, and I was like, "Who's this miserable bitch on crutches?" Because she had just gotten hit by a car. She was like out of the bar for the first time, and she's like sitting next to me, super sad. I don't know. And she had crutches, and I like talked to everybody. So I like go up to her, I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" And she was like not having life at all. And then over the course of the next year, when I was like finding myself, I kept running into her like at the most random.
Not with your car though, right?
And then she had no crutches. When I finally like saw her again, and I remember her walking in as a blonde girl, and I was like, "What's with the straight girl in a gay bar?" Like I was so confused. And as I went over to her, she's like, "I remember you. I remember your space." And I was like, "You're the same miserable chick with the freaking crutches." But it was funny. And then obviously we were both in a good place, but she had just gone through the same type of a breakup, and we were just not on the same path. And so it was clandestine.
Yeah.
No, the same thing happened with Nicole and I. We were both married for the same time, for the same length, which was very, very short. And
Kardashian.
And it was funny because she had seen a picture. She lived in San Francisco, and I'm in Canada, and now Edmonton at the time. And she had seen a picture of myself and my ex-wife a couple years before, because she had actually grown up in Kelowna, where we live now. And we must have had a mutual friend, and she thought, oh, that chick's decent looking, but she was married, I was married, whatever. And then a year later, or a couple years later, I started my comedy channel and was promoting, as I like to do, everywhere that I can, that they allow me. And, and she caught my video somewhere, and she said when she looked at my Facebook, it still said married, which I don't think it did. I think she's wrong. But she said, I felt kind of sad, and she's like, I didn't know why, because I don't even know this girl or anything, like, she's married. And then, yeah, she wrote to me, and you know what it's like, Candace. I mean, you get people writing to you all the time, I'm sure. And
I get about 50 a day.
Right? And so, I had, all these people writing to me, and, you're friendly, and you thank them for their patronage and all that stuff, but you just move on, and then this little person sent me a message, and for whatever reason, I talked back to her, and the rest is history. But that's how these things happen, I think. And we could talk, I mean...
You're saying one of my YouTube followers might be the one. This is what you're saying.
Lady, please let me auction you off. I've done it successfully in the past.
And now your mail has just triplicated. Just so that you know.
May I suggest background checks on the YouTube followers, though?
Yes.
Background checks first.
But listen, Candace, when you're ready, Mama, I'll be your marketing manager.
Yeah. I thought you were going to offer a sister wife there or something like that.
I mean... okay. Performance, you're going to go there.
You have to move to Utah to be with her, because I believe that's the state of sister wifehood, isn't it?
I am. And funny, sister wife in Utah. That's funny. Yeah.
Well, we are going to be
next on TLC.
I think you're jumping the gun. Next week is the polyamory show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Next week, everybody.
Is that really the topic next week?
Yeah, that really is the topic next week.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Look, we just segue right into it.
Right? Just like
well done. Well done. So, we're talking about breakups, and it is a serious topic, especially when we're talking about the kids, and I'm glad that we were able to lighten it a little bit and talk about some of our experiences on how we moved past that and how we moved on. And hopefully it, resonates with somebody out there that's going through the same thing, to know that this is not the end. There's so much more life to live, and there is so much more love to be had. And, especially if you're blindsided, if that person isn't willing to put in the work and hang with you throughout the whole process, then they really weren't the right one, and you're better off without them. But talking about that, there's a phenomenon, especially among lesbians, I've found, of staying friends with your exes.
Other lesbians.
Exactly, other lesbians. I want to know, is it possible? Is it a good idea? And why do you think, in particular, that lesbians seem to do this?
I think Heidi said something perfect. She said, and I kind of mentioned it on something like that on my Tumblr page, but just I think it's possible to be friendly but not friends in a way. I have some of my exes that I'm very friendly to, but no one that I would trust enough to have a deep conversation with. So is that really a friend? Because if at some point in time you were able and willing to hurt me this much, then how could I possibly trust you enough to be a deep friend again? But I can always bump into you somewhere and smile and hug you and say hi, but I think
I'm
Heidi
gonna
kind of
agree
hit the
with-
nail on the head with that.
I'm gonna agree with that one. I can be cordial with my exes. I can be friendly and polite, but I don't think I'd ever want any of them as friends.
Yeah.
But at that time in your life, though, they were so important. So what makes you think that?
I think that for me, it was not being in the right space myself for being in a healthy relationship, so they weren't a healthy relationship choice for me. I think maybe it was somebody who was, just not mentally healthy, someone who was abusive, someone who was an addict and not willing to recover. I think those kinds of folks, people with personality disorders and things, are not the kind of folks you want to connect with again later.
Yeah.
So.
But what if they get help and they change? And you obviously see that.
I think that if they were willing to change to keep me, then they would have.
Oh.
But you could have been the one that made them change then. You could have been the driving force.
Well, if that has happened, I am proud of you. Good job. Send me a text and let me know all about your healthy life, and maybe I'll be proven wrong.
None of my exes were insane people or had different chemical imbalances or anything like that. But there's something else. Yeah, lucky. Yes.
Congratulations.
Well, I don't know. I'd almost rather get dumped by someone with a chemical imbalance than insane and pretty and nice, But I do think I don't know. I think that we all, as lesbians, especially here in Utah, for example, we have a giant lesbian community, but we're all family. We're so close. And
well, you're Mormon. Aren't you related?
You're terrible.
You would think.
I love you, Candace.
She's made some valid points. I mean, it's not offensive.
My entire Mormon knowledge comes from TLC. Okay.
My Mormon,
Candace, go ahead.
My Mormon knowledge comes from Book of Mormon, so it's even worse.
Oh. I was Mormon. I served a mission for the church even in Chile. But anyway,
awesome.
But one thing about Utah that's really unique is because so many of us come from Mormon homes and we get kicked out of the religion, in a sense. It's excommunicated, but we get kicked out of the religion for being gay and for acting on it and for getting married. And so we form these different kinds of families because some of the girls, my family's supportive, but some of the girls' families aren't. And so we become each other's families. We do Thanksgivings together. So one of the reasons that you're friends with your exes or you want to be, or you try to be, is because they're part of the family,
I agree. Yeah.
Well, and that's what I was wondering, because I know here in Salem, or in Oregon, but mainly in Salem, the community, it's bigger than I think that it is, because I go to the Saturday market and I'm like, lesbian. Where the hell have they been? But I think that it's definitely a smaller community, so how can you not date within it? And then if you're dating that person who, it's like 3 degrees of separation, and then you kind of all have to be friendly if you're going to make social situations work.
I sat with my friends the other day, and I couldn't help but scan the room. There's a giant group of friends, and I couldn't help but scan the room and think, one of you are going to date her. Not me, but one of these people are going to date my ex, and that's going to be really hard for me,
Yeah. And for me, that's one of the reasons I think that maybe I stay friends with my exes, is because I have a personal aversion to dating anyone that any of my friends have been in. And I have really dated outside of my community all along, and unfortunately, I've dated a lot of first-timers and I
can totally see that.
Yeah.
You bring those girls out.
You're a cherry
girls like me, the straight girls like me. But anyways, so for me, that's where the forgiveness comes in the friendship. Is I look back and I think, okay, like the warning signs were there. 2 of my ex-girlfriends were 10 years younger than me, and as I mature, I realize that gap was just too big, and that they're really good people, and I love them as people, but I recognize the reasons that the relationship didn't work, but I still love them as people.
That's mature. I think that's really mature.
3 of my best friends in life are ex-girlfriends, and that's of varying years. One of them is 17 years ago. I don't even consider her an ex-girlfriend anymore. If her and I think about us, it's like incest. It's like, don't talk about it. Like, don't ever go back there again, right? And we're like sisters at this point. Because when you're in a relationship with a woman, it is so deep and emotional. You know each other's deepest, dark secrets.
But you can also hurt each other.
So
Yes.
badly, yes.
So badly.
So for me, it's about how the breakup was entirely. If you break up, but you're still somewhat kind to each other, and you don't deliberately try to hurt the other person, you don't, and I'm not even saying, like, I've been cheated on, I've been, you name it, and I'm still friends at this point with some of those people, but you need that time, whether it's a year or 2 years, whatever it is, you need a break, because can't just go from a relationship to a friendship. There's too many emotions involved. So you need a break. And then if you choose to come back together after that time because you still see something valid in them as a person, as a friend, then I think it's entirely possible. And I am grateful that it is, because really 3 of my best friends in life are just happen to be exes of varying.
I wasn't going to go there, but I'm going to say this. I tried to do that 2 years ago. And every single person in my life that was a part in some way of that relationship told me not to. And so I'm someone that just does whatever I want anyway. And so obviously Adria's opinion is always the most important to me. So my wife will literally support me through a fire. She knows I'm wrong, or she'll know I'm right, and she will do it anyway just to let me have my life experiences. And so she's the only one around in my circles that would be like, do you? So I listen to her, and, you know, regardless of how it works out, I feel like it's interesting when the people around you also are affected by that breakup, and whether they went along with you on that journey and they're at a healthy place with you. They'll never ever see that person any differently than what they were in that moment and the way that they treated you. And so that's hard too, to try to bring everybody up. So if you want to be friends with them, you got to remember too that everyone else had a relationship as well, and then bringing that like dead body back, like Dexter style, and like carrying it on your shoulder might be difficult, and there might be another curve. So actually, when you look at kids in a relationship like that, having to be kosher from the word go is actually probably better than if you had a crappy breakup and then you tried to bring it, you know, resurrect that person, and then everyone went, what the?
Yeah.
I think you're pretending you have kids right out the gate, and that's why these are successful, because that's not the case with me.
What are you going to say, Heidi?
When I've really mulled this around, like I've really thought about this for the last, especially the last week while we've been prepping for the show, and I think for myself, what I find doesn't resonate with me is the fact that the intimacy that you have, kind of emotionally, and in those quiet moments, the non-sex intimacy that you have. It's hard for me personally to be able to go back to a friendship place and not accidentally cross that boundary. And I find that is disrespectful to my wife, who I scored with her, you guys. I am not mucking anything up of that. So I like.
That's sweet.
So
I think
you're a newlywed too. I love it.
I am. So yeah. But I don't want to. I love my wife. I'm not going to do anything to cross that boundary. And I'm not saying that people who are friends with their exes by any means are disrespecting their current partner. I just think for myself personally, I would have a really hard time maintaining the emotional, intimate, emotional boundaries that are appropriate and respectful to my wife. So.
And I think that kind of brings up the point of, you know, to me the opposite of love is not hate, the opposite of love is indifference. Yeah. And so when you can get to a point that you're actually indifferent with the other person, then maybe a friendship can be born from that, because there is no sexuality left over. There is no, I mean, I still think the women that I've dated in the past are attractive, otherwise I probably wouldn't have dated them in the first place, but I just don't see them that way, you know, I just don't see them that way anymore.
Carol, I envy you for being able to be friends with some of those people, only because some of my exes, you know, they know you better than anyone in the world, and we had so much fun together all the time, and so it would be nice to have a healthy relationship with those people, but I get too sentimental.
Yeah. It really is, but like I said, you need that break there as well. It's not like you can go from being married, being together, and be like, okay, we're going to be best friends now. No. You need time to go through all of the motions. You know, pretty much all of my people I've talked about that are best friends, there was 1 to 2 years that we didn't speak. I could tell you some horrible stories, but we're running out of time about how those things played out. But, you know, it is I don't want to say it's about maturity, because I'll get jumped on for that, but it is about appreciating.
I think that plays a role. I'm going on record to say that.
Yeah. Yes. It's about appreciating the things in that person that you really liked, but not having to deal with the bullshit anymore, and not having to have that dynamic that maybe was at play between the two of you before. So let's end it there for today. I want to thank everyone on the panel and those of you watching at home. I want to say a very special and heartfelt thank you to Candace.
Oh, thanks. This has been insightful for me. I appreciate being invited. Thank you.
Well, we loved having you, and I know that it's an extremely emotionally draining period of your life, and laying your heart out there for all of the viewers so that we can help maybe even just one person see the light at the end of the tunnel is what this show is all about. On next week's show, as we alluded to a little bit earlier, we are going to talk about, first of all, what constitutes cheating. Do emails, sexting, things of those nature, is watching porn? Or do you have to have some sort of physical contact in order for cheating to take place? And then we're going to talk on a different subject about polyamorous relationships. And, in specific, is a polyamorous relationship something that belongs under the umbrella of the queer spectrum, or is it something entirely different? And, in regards to cheating, because we're talking about cheating on the show, can you ever be polyamorous and cheat on your partner if they say don't know that you've got a fourth or fifth girlfriend on the side? And, it should be an interesting discussion. I think that it's going to be a lot of fun. We have a couple of guests, special guests coming on the show next week. And, Hallie, promo our social media one more time, quick.
All right, make sure that if you're watching this on YouTube, that you like, that you comment. I want to know what your comment is for #IWouldPee4. I want to see these. I need to know who you would pee for.
I love it.
Make sure that you subscribe, because next week I'm going to be in New York, Stephanie's going to be in New York, and Sin's going to be in New York. And we may just go live at some random-ass time. So make sure that you're subscribed, because if you're subscribed and we go live, you get to see whatever it is that we're doing.
We're live streaming from New York from the LGBT week, which is the mass marketing to our community week. So we will be live streaming. And Hallie will be live streaming drunk because it's her 30th birthday next week.
If that's not a reason to watch in itself, I don't know what is.
We may have to find some karaoke. That's all I'm saying.
Hallie Tequila is a really good time. It's really fun. Everybody enjoys
the bars where all of the theater stars go and sing are always my favorite, because they get toasted and you're getting a good performance. So
for sure. So everybody lift your glass, and if you have one.
Oh, Candace.
I got nothing. I've got 2
months.
Cheers to our exes. May they be happy, loved, and complete, just not with us.
Yeah.
Next week, everybody. Thanks for watching, and remember, there is always something to quack about. See you next week, everybody.